Hello, B.F.D followers. So you decided you wanted to build your first custom steel bicycle frame. Well, you're in the right place because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here, and I'm going to take you through all the steps that are required to get a good quality frame. And I'm going to break it down into a series of videos with all the major steps in their own bite-sized video so that you can watch those without having to get all tied up with viewing the whole video and losing track and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to be in nice bite-sized videos, and I hope that it will be clear enough for everyone to be able to say, I can do that, because that's my goal. Is I want you to be able to step away from each one of these videos and just say, hey, that was so simple. I think I can go out and do that today. Here I've put together a list of videos that will enable you to follow along with the build. I will take you through the design, the build process, and the painting, and finally the completion of your bike. So about right now, you're probably asking yourself, what do I need in order to get going and start welding? Well, there's a couple of things. You're going to need some consumables, materials, and then you're going to need a design, and you're going to need your tubes. And that's what I'm going to go over with you right now, is a couple of the beginning stuff, the materials. Now, you're not going to need a whole lot of materials. They're pretty simple and straightforward, but let's just go through it. You're going to need some sort of degreaser cleaner. So acetone is really great. It does a great job. The only downside to acetone, of course, is it's a chemical, and it can be absorbed really easily into the skin, through the skin, and so you kind of want to make sure that you're wearing protective gloves. The alternative to that would be to use an isopropyl alcohol, which is not as good at degreasing, but it's a lot safer and easy to use and easy to come by. And to apply those, you can use the blue shop towels, or I really enjoy and like using the white sterile gauze or non-sterile gauze. They perform the same for the shop, so get the least expensive ones, which would be the non-sterile. Okay. You're also going to need some sort of marking pen. Find whatever works best for you. And then a dust mask of some sort. You should be wearing one of these whenever you're grinding with a angle grinder, a bench grinder, anytime you got something floating around in the air, because you want to protect your lungs. All right. Now, one of the other things that you're going to need are some tools for cutting the tubes. And so you can get some pretty inexpensive tube notchers, and that will allow you to utilize these hole saws. You just screw them onto an arbor, and those get attached to the notcher, or the notcher itself will have an arbor that these screw into. But you're going to need a handful of those, something that matches the diameter of either your bottom bracket, your head tube, and your seat tubes. Maybe even something for like your dropouts going to your seat stays and your chain stays. But the other thing is, it's really nice to have a handful of these welding magnets, because they help hold your material in place while you tack them. And it never hurts to have some just little tiny clamps of some sort. Of course, if you're working with anything grinding, cutting off high speed, you want safety glasses along with your mask. And then you're going to need sandpaper. I use 80 grit. It does a great job. It's just to remove mill scale and all that from your tubes. So if you're going to be doing, again, anything with sandpaper or using a cutoff saw, a bit angle grinder, you're going to want to have the masks. Safety first, right? Speaking of notching, if you have a hand drill, you can utilize those inexpensive tube notchers that you can get at like Harbor Freight. If you have something a little more exotic like a lathe, then you can utilize those too. You can use a big time lathe and you can mount your tubes directly into the chuck and or have a specialized clamp that holds your tubes, and then use your cutter. No, there's multiple ways to do this. You can even use, of course, a mill machine, which is what I use. It's just a simple bench mill. This one's a Grizzly, and it will do the job for everything I need. But you can also, again, use a dedicated drill press. So you can be really creative on how you go about notching your tubes. And that's the key, is you can do this in a whole plethora of different ways. It's just getting the job done. You can even do, and so the way I did it the first time is I used my angle grinder and I just traced out the shape angles onto my tube and just took the angle grinder and started notching away at the tube until it was close proximity to what I wanted. And then I just used hand files. And it took me probably a couple hours to get all the tubes notched correctly, but it works. And you can do it on the cheap. You do not need to go out and purchase capital tools in order to do this. So don't sweat it. Just take your time. So your homework for our next venture here is going to be to collect all the materials that you need. And I will list a handful of links of where I obtain my filler rods and my tube sets. All right? I look forward to seeing you guys, and I'm getting excited because I want to get building my next frame too. All right? Take care.